Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is John and this is your Modern Tech Breakdown. Today I'm covering the latest vulnerability discovered in OpenSSH. This one is a bit of a public service announcement, so let's get into it. There's a good bit of detail in this article, so I'm going to read a bit of it and just add some thoughts along the way. And just for quick background, if you're not familiar with Linux server administration, OpenSSH is a common tool to log in and interact with Linux machines. And the SSHD daemon is the background process that supports all this. So let's read a little bit here from the register. Nasty regression bug in OpenSSH puts roughly 700,000 Linux boxes at risk. InfoSec researchers at Qualys published their findings today, revealing that SSHD is vulnerable to a race condition that could allow an unauthenticated attacker to achieve remote code execution on potentially hundreds of thousands of targets. Successful exploitation could give intruders root-level access to a system, allowing them to potentially get away with virtually anything. Qualys believes that roughly 700,000 of these internet-facing instances could be feasibly hit by regression. And I say Qualys, I'm not familiar with that company. I hope I'm saying that right. But anyway, 700,000 potential servers vulnerable to remote code execution attack. That's not good. The only potential save here is that, as we'll find out, that the attack does require lots and lots of login attempts, so it might not be as bad. I mean, it's still not great. But let's keep reading and see which systems are vulnerable. So anything running glibc is probably vulnerable, with the only exception here being OpenBSD. So that's not great. Anything running glibc that's a lot of systems. glibc is the GNU project implementation of the C standard library and provides an API for C programmers or C++ to access operating system functions like opening and writing files, so very fundamental things. Needless to say, a lot of systems will be running this. Let's continue and get into the details of the vulnerability. Per Qualys' more detailed advisory, if a client doesn't authenticate within the login grace time, a parameter that sets the maximum time a successful authentication attempt to SSHD can take, set to 120 seconds by default, then the server's SIG alarm handler is called asynchronously. This signal handler can then call functions that aren't async signal safe, such as syslog, and oversight attackers can exploit to ultimately execute arbitrary code. Okay, so there's some bits of code in OpenSSH that make calls to system functions that aren't async safe, meaning that the functions that OpenSSH is calling are not designed to be called from multiple threads running in the same process. So it sounds like the vulnerability relies on pretty precise timing, which could be viewed somewhat positively in that the attacker has to get a little lucky for the vulnerability to work. How lucky do they have to get? Let's keep reading. In lab conditions, it took between 6 and 8 hours to beat the race condition. Qualys tests were a touch quicker, taking around 3 to 4 hours in the region of 10,000 attempts to beat it. Okay, so a handful of hours and 10,000 attempts, that's not great. Doesn't seem like the attacker has to get all that lucky for the attack to work. So again, it's not a great situation. Anybody out there who's responsible for a Linux environment that's probably running OpenSSH should definitely be checking version numbers, updating their software. Also, if possible, it does make sense to add some protections to your SSH endpoints by limiting access at the network level, monitoring login attempts or exploit attempts. Regardless of this vulnerability, these measures just make sense. So not great news, tough one out there. 700,000 servers is a lot. Hopefully this doesn't get any wider than that, but that's about wraps it up. Hope you're having a great day. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.